Hey everybody, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz, and this is another episode of The Next Level in which a guest co-host and I discuss the interview of the week and kind of pick out a few key topics and translate them into specific tactics and tips to help you bring your business to the next level. And before I introduce this week's guest co-host, I want to mention that we are talking about Liese Gardner, which was released on Monday, of Liese Gardner Communications. And when she's not working on marketing campaigns, she's connecting industry leaders, consults with brands on social media and PR, and writes articles on inspiration for business, design, and life on her popular blog, Fuel, The Passions That Drive Us. And in 2016, Liese was named one of the top influential event professionals on Twitter. And in 2015, she was inducted into the Event Hall of Fame for her contributions to that creative industry. And today's guest co-host, my illustrious guest co-host this week to help me talk about this, is Shannon Leahy of Shannon Leahy Events out of San Francisco and Los Angeles. And Shannon plans and designs weddings and events worldwide. She was named one of the top wedding and event planners in the world by Martha Stewart Weddings, Brides, and Harper's Bazaar magazines. And Shannon has also authored an online course called WED School, W-E-D School, to teach aspiring wedding professionals about the world of high-end wedding and event design. Welcome, Shannon. Thank you for helping me out again.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks for having me. I am taking Liese's advice, and I am, smiling and dialing?
She said that. Do you know? I'm in music, and I was studying with this great vocal coach. And a lot of times when I'm producing stuff with the different bands, I actually will say that for the singers. It's like smile because you'll hear it in the voice. It's true. So now I have to smile too.
Yeah.
I was grimacing earlier.
We
but I
will smile the entire time. Okay, my face is gonna hurt in 15 minutes.
Oh my God! Help! All right, listen, it's late on Friday. All right, so anyway. But yeah, one of the first topics that Liese got my attention, I love how she said this. I was asking her what her favorite definition is of marketing. And first she said, remember when she said she believes in marketing with heart and in marketing your passion? Mm-hmm. And it's a combination of sociology, psychology, and also anthropology. And so marketing is essentially human, is what she was saying, making a human connection, right? You also resonated with that.
Absolutely. I think that, you talked about, what was it, Dove soap or Ivory soap a lot in that interview. And I found that parallel to be so apt and interesting because you think you're building this brand, you're building this company as a wedding industry professional, but especially in our industry, because it is so personal, it's about the people behind it. It's about the story behind it. And it's kind of even easy for someone like me, who's such a small business, to forget that and remember that people are, it's like what she said about everything you see is content. People are interested in what you're doing, what you're eating, what you're driving, like all those little things. That's what social media is kind of about. And the more they know about you and your life, kind of the more they can relate to you and appreciate and, want to buy and be reminded of your brand. So it's definitely an interesting way to look at things.
Yeah, it is different, isn't it? I mean, when I first started, advertising was completely different and it was missing that human personal storytelling element. And, we are, like you said, we're telling our stories now and that's what people want to hear. It's really interesting.
They want you to be human. It feels like with advertising, it's like producing this glossy photo, looking so professional. And with Instagram, it's like they want to see the imperfections and they want it to be real. It's definitely a new world. I also thought like what she was saying about we're becoming our own publishers.
Yes, I caught that too, our own media outlet.
I mean, how different is that? You have control over the dissemination of the information and the content and how it's communicated, and you can control all of that now because that's where, it's sad, but people aren't, unfortunately, they're not buying the magazines. They're not buying the newspaper as much. They're getting all that information on their social media outlets directly from the brands and from individual people. So it's a different world out there.
I'm also thinking, this is funny, Shannon, while you're saying that, given that it is, like she said, we're our own publishers, we're our own media outlet. I mean, why not also apply our creativity that we have to how we do that? Mm-hmm. You could really embrace it. Like at first, I thought it was just, such a pain in the ass to have to really get into all the social media. And I'm learning more about Instagram now, and I'm starting to come up with some ideas, especially for Instagram stories, that's also entertaining, that's engaging. why not have fun with it too?
And like she said, plan out the calendar. I hired a gal who has like event production experience and marketing experience to come help me. And the big thing she sat down day one was, okay, what's our marketing calendar? What's our content calendar? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I post pretty pictures online when I see pretty pictures, and sometimes it's one day a week and sometimes it's 5 days a week. And, she was kind of educating me that, that what are we pushing forward? How are we calendaring it out? And just, it doesn't even take long. And I know a lot of brand people, marketing people, there's probably tons of information on this online. I certainly am not the expert, but sitting down every quarter and just thinking about what are the goals. And I loved how she said that pillar 1 of her 6 marketing pillars is, where do you want to be in a year? Who do you want to be? What's your objective? And then kind of working backwards from that to who's your ideal client, working backwards to how do we reach them? I mean, that makes so much sense to me. That's the whole thing in a nutshell.
I want to mention that obviously we all want to get as much publicity as we can for our businesses in the wedding and events industry. Well, would you like help in doing so? OFD Consulting is an award-winning publicity agency specializing in the wedding and events industry. They have placed clients in a ton of popular online and print publications, including many of the most well-known brands. OFD Consulting also has a service dedicated entirely to B2B press. And that's if you want to elevate your brand reputation among peers through online mentions, guest articles, podcasts, and speaking engagements. And if you're a small business who just wants to get a sense of what's possible, check out the OFD Collective. It is a 3-tier membership with strong educational and coaching opportunities, along with ongoing press leads. Learn more by going to ofdconsulting.com. That's ofdconsulting.com. Yeah, basically, it's so funny what you're saying, because when I first was doing this, also social media, same thing. I was just, what'll I put out today? Or, and to really think this thing out ahead of time. And like you say, thinking, even weeks out. And not only what do you want to say, but like you just said, what audience do you want to reach? And I liked her specifics, right? She was talking about coming up with 3 to 5 buckets, like my business is this, this, and this. And this week, I'm going to touch on what those are. And so I think she used the example that if you want to touch on, for example, chairs and linens, then come up with one thing for each of those, for each of 2 days, of 3 days. And it could be just showing your tablescapes, or it's just interesting. Start with a big piece of content, parcel it out among your different social media platforms. And I think she said, be happy with getting something out, even just 3 times a week. And so many people talk about making every single photo beautiful. Like, don't mess around with that, right? You've got a big following, Shannon.
We've worked hard for it. Yeah. One tool in terms of planning things out that we use that I picked up along the way, which is amazing, is we use something, there's a lot of them out there. We use one called Planoly, and it helps you plan out what your Instagram grid is going to look like. So you can upload all your photos and then you can move them around so that they're all lined up. So the color story kind of flows, because when people come to your profile and they look at those 9, they call it the 9 square photos in a square, that's the first impression they have of your company. It's like, that's your face, that's your website on Instagram, and you can't have it looking all random and different photography styles and different colors. So this helps you plan out in advance. So that is one tool that we use to plan things out in advance that's been really helpful for me. And then what she said, which is so true, is it is becoming more and more about the voice, and like not just the pretty photo, which is your grid or your face, but what you're saying about it and having that be authentic. And, it's something that I think everybody has a voice. They just don't realize it, that they do. Maybe when Kyla came and started working for me, she was helping me with posting, and she's like, I'm really trying to learn your voice. I'm really trying to sound like you when I post. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm just posting a caption. She said, no, it's your voice. So I think everybody has that, whether they realize it or not.
And also she was talking about, talk about literally your voice is Instagram stories. She was remember she was talking about how Instagram stories are growing the fastest, and it's obviously the best for moment to moment, and it could be rough. Like that part could be kind of rough around the edges. I guess people like it. And this knocked me out. She said Instagram stories are growing 15 times faster than your feed, and that people are engaging there more, which is than the past.
I don't know about you, but that's what I do when I go on for pleasure to Instagram. I look at stories. I mean, because that's where the good stuff is. I don't know. That's what I look at.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'm definitely recently starting to take more of a look at that. And yeah, I think it's really important to recognize that. And that's where you can be really creative. I remember, I need to get back to it, but it was many, many months ago. I was traveling, and I think it was actually your hometown, San Francisco.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, and New York City. But I remember in San Francisco, I was just taking a break, and I was walking up past, what is that, Union Square or something, way up high where you could overlook the city. I did something funny. I can't remember right now, but I said something with the view, and I posted it on Instagram, and I thought, whoa, I think I just discovered something. Like, have a sense of humor, do something different, you know, show something personal, not just I'm about to interview so-and-so. I just simply did a thing about the view, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy though, because it can take over your life. I mean, if you really want to give it your all of a sudden you've got your camera out constantly, and it's a hard balance because you don't want to, I don't know. It's a balance. That's why planning it out, I guess, is good too.
It is.
A little bit.
And she also talked about, she had gone to some, you know, major conference, I think it was Social Media World, where they talked about where Facebook was going. And we don't have time to get into that right now, but if you all go back and listen to Lisa's interview, she talks about what they were saying, where Facebook is going to head. But another topic, you know, before we wrap up, well, it's really the core of her business, which she calls brand therapy, right? And it's the same kind of thing, you know, coming back to what are the areas you want to grow into? What are your objectives? What is your ideal client want, and then create an avatar. And I've heard people talk a lot about creating an avatar, and I did it last year. We were kind of redesigning the website, and we did the exercise. The web designer had myself and my team create this avatar, and so much came.
Did you like pick a photo?
Oh, that's interesting. No, that's what you did?
Yeah, I like picked a photo of a person online that I thought looked like it. So I had that image in my head that I was speaking to that person, even though it was like a random person I didn't know.
No, but I love that. That's even better. Yeah. I mean, to actually image it. But she also said that, again, it's creating a story for it, you know, like we're talking about with Instagram, and about, you know, your tone, your voice. How is it you want to talk to them? Like, you know, you don't want to be fake, but you want to think it out, right? Think it out ahead of time.
Yeah. I think it's an exercise that every business owner should do before they start any business. And if you haven't done it already, then do it now. Yeah. And she said getting specific, listing out their clothes and where they like to eat and all of those things, and then kind of aligning yourself with those brands online too. It's like, where does this person shop? Okay, they shop at this place. Let me see how I can align my brand with that place. You know, it's all that stuff.
Yeah, that was interesting to me too. I mean, really go deep into it. And another part of this, the part of that conversation that grabbed me too, was to figure out how the public sees you versus how you see yourself, right? Because there really can be a disconnect. And this is something I'm actually coincidentally thinking about doing recently. And I asked her how, like, how do you do that, Lisa? And she said, go to at least 10 clients and ask what they liked about you, how they see you, you know? That was interesting.
I'm too afraid to do it. Even my clients that I like had the best experience with, and they refer me to all their friends and they shout my name from the rooftops, I'm like still nervous to go back and interview them. It's funny. One of my clients, actually, she recommended that I do that because that's what she does for a living. Her job, she works with major brands, and her company's role is this whole interviewing their clients and getting feedback. And then they put the feedback all together in spreadsheets and whatever. That's her job. So she's like, have you ever done that with your clients, you know, as a recommendation? I was like, no, I'm afraid to.
Jeez,
I think it's a good exercise, though. It'd be nice to have a third party do it, I have to say. I don't know why.
I know. Well, and also, you know, when you say that, I'm thinking, I want people to really be honest with, like, I feel that even the people who are our most avid fans, and even with legacy clients, you know, when you're creating them, I mean, there's got to be something that we could do better. I would love to find a way, to get it all from them and really understand, you know?
I bet the first time you do it, that first call, you're just like, oh, that was easy. Why have I never done this before? Right? What was I afraid of? you know?
Yeah, I know. I agree. Maybe that is a thing.
Got to rip the Band-Aid off. That'll be our promise to each other, Andy. We'll do that.
Rip the Band-Aid off. My God, jeez. But Liese had a lot of good things. I really do want to recommend that everyone go back and kind of listen to the whole interview because
I was inspired.
Yeah, you were telling me that before we hit the record button. Yeah, she's great. And I went to see her. This is interesting. She is handling PR and marketing for Ray Thompson, Images by Lighting, who is probably the premier lighting designer in the world. And I sat and interviewed Ray when I was there as well. And I'm going to release that sometime next month.
Awesome.
And then she also represents David Merrill, who's been on the show. And so, you know, she really knows. She's got this specialty in events and had quite a lot to say. Well, that is all that we have time for today. And so I want to thank everyone for listening. And I want to thank you, Shannon, for being on the show again. You were with us talking about Natasha Miller. And so thanks for doing this again with me.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, I'm going to be interviewing Shannon down the line. We have some very exciting ideas about how we might do it in a different way. So that's coming. And I want to give Shannon's information. So her website is shannonleahy.com. That's SHANNON and then LEAHY. And we'll have that in the show notes. And Shannon, I believe your Instagram handle is Shannon Leahy Events. Isn't that correct?
Correct. That's it.
And on Facebook, Shannon-Leahy-Events. But again, it's all in the show notes at weddingbiz.com. Also want to give out Liese's information, and you can check out her services at Liese Gardner. That's spelled Liese Gardner, Gardner, liesegardner.com. Her social media handles are the same. It's all at Liese Gardner. And again, be sure to go to theweddingbiz.com and subscribe so you get notifications. And at this point, we want to, again, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week on The Wedding Biz.